Hey guys, I've got another video here for you, and I hope you guys are doing well out there. So, as you can already tell, I've got another Moonman M100 here for just a review on the pen. Now, this is a different colorway. This is the Milky Way color. And I really like this pen. It's very attractive. I've been very impressed with Moonman. The M100 models, as far as their materials that they're using, are just gorgeous and stunning. And when I saw this one, I really wanted to order it. Now, in person, it is visually stunning. I don't really feel like all of the chatoyance is coming through on the camera. Now I am going to give you a little bit of a close-up and kind of twirl the pen around so you can kind of see some of that. The cap up here is very cool. Get it to focus a little bit better and twirl it around for you. So give you a little bit of an idea, some close-ups of the pen anyways. Again, a gorgeous pen. Now, this pen I paid $33.80 for, so actually it was cheaper than my original M100 I purchased, and that made it an even better deal in my opinion. Now, the pen, similar to my other M100 model, there is of course the same cross-threading opportunities where you've got to just be very cognitive or aware when you're capping or recapping the pen. Kind of similar to a vintage pen, that's been, sometimes you have some threading issues. You just got to really kind of be patient with it, not jam that cap right back on, and make sure that you are screwing it back on appropriately. For me, it doesn't bother me. I know for some people it is a little bit of a deal breaker and a little bit frustrating. Really, the only issue that I have with this pen, this specific one, is that when I got it, there was nothing wrong with it. Everything functioned perfectly fine, but the clip is loose. And actually, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but when you shake it around, it's not the converter on the inside, it's actually the clip. So I'm assuming whatever we've got attaching the clip on the inside here, whether it be a screw or some type of bolt, is actually come loose over time. Now, I have not been putting this into any type of like thick pockets, but you can tell I barely even have to pull right here and the clip is already moving. So I haven't really tried that hard to remove the inner cap liner. However, I did try the rubber band with a pencil trick that I've tried with a lot of other cap liners, and it would not budge. So I do not know if there's adhesive that is being used to hold that cap liner in place, and that is the issue. If any of you have removed your cap liner on this pen, comment down below, let me know. Because that would be very helpful, so I'm not using a lot of trial and error to remove that cap liner. Now, the nib that this pen came with. Now, it came with the same Schmidt fine nib that my other M100 came with, but I did want to upgrade the nib on this pen as well, just like I did with the other one. With that being said, the Schmidt nib that this pen came with worked perfectly fine. It actually, it was very nice to get another Schmidt nib that and the pen wrote well straight out of the box. No issues, didn't have to use any micro mesh whatsoever. So I really have no complaints on the nib. But as I stated, I did upgrade the nib, and I purchased a titanium nib from this company. It's based in the UK, and it's of course a number 5 size Bock titanium nib. Most of you are probably familiar with those Bock titanium nibs because Karas Customs uses them in some of their pens. And, I remember the first time I saw one was, I think Brian Goulet was reviewing them, and I was really enthralled and impressed with the nibs. And I've been meaning to purchase one for quite some time. They're not the most expensive nibs, obviously, but they're not the cheapest. I actually paid about 48 pounds for the nib, so it equated out to about 63 US, which was actually about the cheapest I found. Most other places were charging anywhere from 65 and up on the nibs, and so this was a really inexpensive option, or at least comparatively speaking. Now, that was 48 pounds with shipping. Now, I was expecting it to take a few weeks to get to my home, and actually, kudos, because I got it within about a week. I was really impressed. It got to my home. I was not expecting it. Now I got an email notification telling me that it was shipped, but I did not get any shipping information as far as being able to track the order. One downside, but with how fast it got here, I don't really have any complaints at all. Now I will put a link in the description to the titanium nib, and that way if you guys are interested, go check them out. They of course have all sorts of different sizes. So we're going to uncap the pin real quick and actually show that nib. So there is that Bock titanium nib. And again, this is a number 5 nib. Now, one of the things with this nib is, you know, you probably can't really so much tell, but it is a contoured nib. It doesn't have those wide shoulders like the Schmidt nib has. And you'll notice that my Schmidt feed here, you know, it kind of goes out to a point on both sides where its shoulders go out and it has that triangle shape. So this nib is not in my opinion, a perfect fit for the pen. And I'm going to actually bring in that Schmidt nib. Now this is the packaging that my titanium nib came in, and it of course came in this little, I call it almost like a mint container. And here we actually have the full feed unit. This is what the Bock nib came in, and you'll notice that this feed and that feed are very much different in the sense that this one is much more narrow and this one is much wider. It kind of has wider wings, and you'll see that that Schmidt nib is much wider. Now, it wasn't so much a tight fit, so to speak, and it fit into that little cutout perfectly fine. I don't really have any issues there. Now, what I was having issues with, I started off with a diamine ink in this fountain pen. And to be exact, I had the Sargasso C ink in the pen. And that ink is not an extremely lubricating ink. It's a little bit drier, much drier than some of my other diamine inks that I use. And I definitely had some flow issues with this nib, feed, and ink setup. So I was kind of going through trying to think, well, what would maybe be a better ink? So I wanted to try switching the ink before I got frustrated and took the nib completely out. So I moved over to Noodler's Blue, which is this one here, just their regular blue ink. It's a very, I think, lubricating ink. Very wet ink. And that really made a tremendous difference in the writing quality and really improved the overall experience with the nib and feed and everything else. So just something to kind of call out there, that sometimes it's not always the nib and the feed, sometimes it's the ink, and really it's kind of almost a science to figure out what works best in a pen like this. Alright guys, so wanted to kind of compare my two M100 models that I have here. Now I'm not going to do sizing comparisons with other pens, really just want to compare the two materials. So we have our Art Brick Red down here, which to me it reminds me of like a painting, just with all the different colors that it has in it. And then we have our Milky Way up here, which to me almost looks like you're looking at the ocean from the sky, in my opinion, but that's just kind of what I think it looks like. But I think, again, two tremendous materials and just flat out gorgeous. All right, guys, so we are back real quick, and I am going to, let's see what this looks like. Kind of get some up close so you can see some of those transparent properties with this material, and again, it's just really attractive material. Kind of see where that cap liner starts and where it ends. See some of the darker pieces in the resin. That is the cap. Let's look at the barrel real quick, kind of see what this one looks like. Kind of see some purple shading coming through on the material. Kind of see where the machining ends. So again, just a really cool material. Up next, guys, we are going to do a writing sample. All right, guys, we are back, and let's get this thing started real quick. So as we already know, we have the Moonman M100. And I've got a Bock titanium nib. And this one is a fine. I went with a fine nib on this one. First thing about this nib is it is smooth, but it definitely, you know, you get some feedback. It's smooth, it's a nice rider, but I would say kind of also with, it's hard to describe, but a little bit of like a pencil-y feedback. And it's not like writing with a gold nib, but it's not like writing with a steel nib. It's like writing with a titanium nib, whatever that means. One thing I could kind of compare it to a little bit is a sailor nib. Those of you that have used sailor nibs, you kind of get like that pencil-y kind of feedback where it's not a bad feedback. Kind of just lets you know that you're writing on the paper. Let's do a more extensive writing sample. There you go. So another cool thing about this nib is you can get some line variation. It's somewhat of a soft nib. It's really, really a cool experience. So you can actually pump out a little bit of line variations. You'll notice on that downstroke, we're getting a little bit more than we are on that upstroke. So here's like no pressure at all. Here's just a moderate amount of pressure. We'll kind of build up. That's probably as far as I'm going to take it. But I mean, to me, that is just really cool how you kind of get a springy type writing experience. And I think it's also kind of where you get a little bit of that feedback, so to speak, because as you're writing and you're putting more pressure on certain strokes, those tines are spreading out, which are probably giving you that feedback on the paper. You get a little bit of an idea, but just a really cool nib. I think it complements this pen well. You know, not the most ornate nib by any means. I mean, I think it looks nice, but I think it's different. It kind of gives you a different feel. I really like this nib on this pen, and I'm really excited. I like the nib. I will definitely be consider getting some other Bock nibs for some of my other pens down the road. Really, the only drawback that I have with this pen, honestly, right now, is this right here, the clip. I mean, obviously, you know, maybe a quality control issue. I'm hoping maybe, honestly, one of you has had this issue already come up and maybe you've already rectified it. If you have, let me know down in the comment section what you did to get that cap liner out or how you were able to fix the nib. Otherwise, I'll give you guys an update at some point once I've got that figured out. But all in all, really love the pen, love the color. And the nib on this pen is awesome. Check out the titanium nibs if you haven't already gotten one. It makes me want to go get a Karas Customs pen with the Bock titanium upgrade. Guys, I hope everybody's doing well out there. Until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.